Hello everyone and welcome to the class of business study. So dear students, today we will again continue with the same chapter, that is organizing, chapter 5th. Now this is part 3rd or third video of this 5th chapter and the last video. In the next video we will meet again with 6th chapter, that is staffing. Now starting with the few parts which concepts or basics which we have left in this chapter is delegation of authority. The meaning and definition of delegation of authority we have mentioned or I have taught you in the previous video. Now importance of delegation of authority, which we will do today. Now what is the importance, why we require to the significance of delegation of authority? The first is reduction of executive's workload. When we say delegation of authority, it is just passing of authority or powers from superior to subordinate. Just because the superior are much busy in some other work, so they can get a leisure or spare time, and in that particular time they can concentrate on some more important issues. So for that purpose we delegate the authority, or superior delegate the authority to subordinate. Okay, that is what we did in the definition part. Now the importance, the first is a reduction of executives workload. That means whoever who are executives, the managers, their workload is reduced because of the delegation of authority, with which they are passing the authority, responsibilities and duties which need to be done by them to their subordinates. So it reduces the workload of officers or managers. They can thus utilize their time in more important and creative work instead of works of daily routine. That means what the managers are actually doing, their workload is reduced by delegation of authority. How? Whatever work they are doing in daily basis, so that particular work they are actually delegating or passing this work to their subordinate, so that they can have more time to concentrate on more important issues. Second is employees development. Now when through delegation of authority, when superior is passing their responsibilities and duties to subordinates, that means surely those subordinates are having good performance because of their good efficiency or better efficiencies. These work which is need to be done by the superior, now it is to be done by the subordinates. So automatically the subordinates or the employees, their morale or confidence is much improved because of this opportunity. So employee get more and more opportunities to utilize their talent. By this work, the employees are getting more and more opportunities or chances to improve their work, to utilize their talent properly, which allows them to develop those skills which will enable them to perform complex tasks, and with which they are actually able to and very confident to complete or to do the complicated or complex tasks which they have not did yet. Okay. Third is quick and better decisions are possible. That means with delegation of authority, decisions can be taken quickly by the manager. Why? Because now they have enough time to concentrate on major issues. So quickly decisions need to be made and better decisions are possible. The subordinates are granted sufficient. And how? By when superior is passing the or delegating the authority to subordinates, now the subordinates are granted sufficient authority, with that authority or power to take the decisions from superior to subordinate. So they need not to go to their superiors. Now they will not ask their superiors again and again of how to do the work. Why? Because they have already given the power and authority to make decisions, to take decisions by the superior. So they will not ask again and again. So decisions are made by owned by themselves, that is by subordinate. So within less time they take the decisions, and for taking decisions and concerning the routine matters, now they are not moving again and again for discussing the routine daily matters to their superiors, that is subordinate. Okay. So the decisions are made very quickly. Fourth is high morale of subordinates. Morale here means confidence. Now by doing whatever work which is to be done by superior, now if they are giving that work to or passing that authority and power and responsibility to subordinates, now subordinates confidence will be improved. Why? Because he know that I am much efficient, that is why my superior is giving me or passing me certain work. So because of delegation of authority to the from superior to subordinates, they get an opportunity to display their efficiency and capacity. Now they have got a chance, that is subordinate gets a chance or an opportunity to show their talent, to show their creativity, their efficiency and capacity to their seniors. Now fifth is better coordination. Now a good coordination can be done between the among the subordinate and the superior when they actually the superior passing the authority. That is the element of delegation, 3 elements of delegation which we did in the previous video, that is authority, responsibility and accountability. When we say accountability means answerability, when you are answer to a certain person because of the responsibility which you have passed to. So accountability help to define the powers, that means these 3 elements of delegation of authority, when it is provided to these subordinates, it defines their powers, duties and accountability related to certain job position, related to certain task which is being provided to them, and it result in developing and maintaining effective coordination, and because of this there develops an effective coordination between superior and subordinate. Why? Because the superior is as passing the authority or responsibility to their subordinates. Now because of this a better coordination, better communication can be done between them, and it could be done effectively. Now next topic is decentralization. In the first video, if you could remember, we have discussed this particular thing, that is centralization and decentralization. When we say decentralization means passing of authority to each and every level from top to middle to lower level. When system is centralized, that means the decisions are taken by one person only, that is top level only. In terms of policy making, rules and regulations, decisions and all such things. So decentralization of authority means dispersal, that is passing of authority to take decisions throughout the organization from top level to lower level, up to lower level. It implies reservation of some authority with the top level management and transferring rest of the authority. That means it actually implies the reservation of some authority or power to the top level, that is it stays with the top level only in terms of decision making, and transferring rest of the authority to the lower level of the organization. Now here it means that the top level who is actually eligible to take decisions, all the topmost decisions, all the creative work, all the framing of policies, rules and regulation must be done by top level. But whatever rest of the work or rest of the responsibility they can pass out to or delegate to their lower level management or middle or lower level management also. This is decentralization. This empowers lower level, and because of this lower level management is getting power, getting responsibilities to take decisions regarding the problems which are faced by them without having to go to the upper level. Now it means that they will not ask again and again about these decisions to their top level. They will not inquire, they will not seek suggestions from their superior level, that is top level, but instead they will do that particular work or make decisions according to them only. Now according to Allen, decentralization refers to systematic efforts to delegate to the lowest level. That it is a systematic efforts of delegating the responsibility, accountabilities, that is duties and responsibility to the lowest level, and all authority except the one which can be exercised by Senate. That means all authority are delegated to the subordinate, to the lower level management, except the centralized decision, except the decisions of making the major decisions. Okay. Now what is centralization is? Centralization means authority retained at top level. That means, as I said, centralization means all the decision making, all the framing of rules and regulations and policy making which is to be done by only one level, that is top level only. Middle level and lower level will not make any decisions. So that is centralized system, when decisions are to be made by one head only. So decentralization is systematic delegation of authority at all. And what is decentralization? It is systematic delegation or dispersal of authority at all the levels of management, whether it is middle level or lower level, and all the divisions and departments in which the firm is being divided. Firm needs to balance the two. Now the firms needs to balance the two. Each and every firm, either it can be centralized or decentralized, okay. But practically if we see, each and every firm, each and every business, each and every institution are using the both or are coping with or adjusting with both the methods, that is centralization and decentralization. All major decisions are to be taken by the main department, that can be called, we can call it centralized system, and some other leftover work or some other minor responsibility is to be dispersed to various other levels or divisions also, and with which we can have decentralization. In case of decentralization firm, top level retains authority for, that means if the firm is following the decentralized system, then the top level management is still involved in policy making, decision making with respect to the whole firm, overall control and coordination, which is again in the hands of top level only, even though it is decentralized system, but all the overall control, coordination, framing of policies, decision making is still rest at the top level only. Middle and lower levels have authority or powers to take decision with respect to the only task which is allocated or assigned to them, that's it only. Now centralization and decentralization, now we need to discuss in how with using both the methods, that is centralization and decentralization, we cannot say that completely a firm is centralized or completely a firm is decentralized. It is always a mixture of both for the better goodwill, reputation, benefit or expansion of the business. They need to focus, or they need to adapt with both the things. They need to balance both the aspect. So centralization and decentralization represents a pattern of authority. That means it is the pattern or the system of authority among various departments, among various levels, and among managers at different levels. Centralization of authority means concentration in few hands, whereas when we say decentralization, it is actually dispersal of authority to many divisions, many sections and many departments. So very little authority is delegated to managers at middle and lower level in case of a decentralized system. No organization can be completely centralized. As I said, that any organization, no organization can be cannot be completely centralized or cannot be completely decentralized. It is always a mixture of both, that is both the level of authority exist together, and there is a need for a balance between the two. Now what is two? Centralization and decentralization. As the organization grow in size, there is tendency to, that means as the organization is expanding their business, is growing in size from small scale to large scale size. So as the business is expanding to their size, it moved towards decentralization system. Now because the size of the business or the business is expanded, now they have much work to do, many work to do. So they need to focus. They cannot take all the decision by themselves, that is top level. So they need to disperse the authority to other departments, to other levels, that is middle and lower level. Just because the burden of the work is being increased, so reduce their burden, they need to use the decentralized system by dispersal of authority to middle and lower level. So they need to move towards decentralization system. Thus every organization is characterized by both. We can say that each and every organization is a mixture, is characterized by both system, centralization and decentralization. Now what is importance of decentralization is develops initiative among subordinates. That means when we say decentralization system, it is actually involving the subordinate in making decision, taking responsibilities, many things. Okay. So develops initiative among subordinates. It helps to promote the confidence or morale in the subordinates, because the subordinates are given freedom to take their own decision. Now in this system, decentralization system, the subordinates are given the power or authority to make their own decisions in specified task, in certain job. So their confidence boost up. Second advantage is quick and better decision. That means because of this, the decisions are made very quickly. Now because subordinates will not ask the top level management or will not seek their advice or suggestion in such a case which they have been allotted. Okay. So the burden of managerial decisions, that means the burden with which the manager was overburdened the work, and that was reduced and does not lie in the hands of only few top level individuals. Now the decision making process and other powers or authority or responsibility are passed out to various subordinates. Now they will be involved in making the decisions. So hence the burden or stress of making decision with top level manager is being reduced, and few individual but gets divided among various persons, which help them to take better and quick, and because the duties and responsibilities are passed to various people, so the burden is reduced and it helps them to take better and quick decision. Third is relieves the top executives from excess workload. Now as I said in the second point, the same thing is being repeated, that it relieves, that means now the top level management have got relief, they are stress free, they are burden free from making from excess workload which they have been struggling with. The daily managerial work are assigned to the subordinates, which leaves enough time with the superiors. Now the superiors have enough time or spare time which they can utilize for the development of the business, development of the firm, or making some new strategies. Now they can focus more on making new strategies. Why? Because the daily routine work, whatever the superior were doing, now this work is being passed to the subordinates. Fourth is managerial development. Now with this, the development of managers' efficiency is also done. Like it means giving authority to the subordinates up to the lower level to take decisions regarding their work. Now the superior is passing out the decision making process or giving their authority to their subordinates at the lower level. In this way, the opportunity to take decisions helps in the development. Now whatever opportunity they have encashed with to take the decision, that is subordinate, it will actually trying to help out the organization for their benefit, for their further growth and development. Fifth is better control. Now it makes possible to evaluate performance at each level. That means now it is very easy or to check or evaluate the performance at each level. Why? Because of better control of the top level over middle and lower level, and which result in complete control over all the activities, and with which there is a complete control of top level to managerial and lower or supervisory level. So because of complete control, proper coordination can be done. Now what is the difference between delegation and decentralization? Of course you would think that both the things are just same. Of course delegation and decentralization, there are very much similarity between both the things, but still there is a difference. That first is the basis of difference, that is nature, delegation and decentralization. In case of nature, the delegation, it is a compulsory act. That means to pass out or delegate the authority, it is a compulsory act in every firm. Whereas decentralization, there is an optional policy. Why? Because we have two systems, decentralization or centralization. Now it depends on the firm to whom to choose. That is, either they will go with decentralization system or either with centralization. So in case of decentralization, nature, it is having an optional policy. Now freedom of action. Now in delegation, there is less freedom to take decisions due to more control by the superior. When the superior is providing or giving or assigning certain work to the subordinates, it's a compulsory thing, they need to do that. Okay, so there is less freedom to take decisions by the lower level in case when the superior is delegating certain work in delegation. Whereas decentralization, more freedom of action due to less control by the top management. In system of decentralization, there is less interference of the top management level. So they have got more freedom in decentralization system. Then status, it is a process of sharing task and authority. That means delegation is actually a process or a procedure of sharing the work or task and the authority, that is power. Whereas decentralization, it is a result of policy decision taken by top management. That is, it is a kind of policy or procedure which is to be adopted by the top management, either centralization, either decentralization. Scope. Now what is the scope or future scope of this? System of delegation is a very narrow term. Okay, it's not a wide term, it is a very narrow term, as it is confined to, that is, it is limited to superior and his immediate subordinate. That means the scope of delegation is very narrow, it is very limited to only superior and their immediate subordinate. Other peoples are not involved in that. So scope is very limited in delegation, whereas in decentralization the scope is very wide. It includes extension of delegation to all level. That means here they are not moving with one superior and one subordinate. They are actually including the extension is given to each and every level, that is middle level also and lower level also. So their scope is wide. Purpose. Now purpose of delegation is to reduce the burden of, that means with which aim or what purpose or objective this delegation is being followed or delegation is been done, is just to reduce the burden of the manager. Okay, just to free him, just to reduce the burden or stress of the work, they actually involve in delegation of their authority to the subordinate. Whereas in decentralization, to increase the role and the autonomy of lower level of management, that is to increase the participation, the role, the activeness of the middle and lower level management or other further level. So, because of this particular decentralization system is being adopted, that is the purpose. Now, this is all about today's video. In the next video we will start with chapter 6. So, till then, thank you.